It is not bad at all. As the hat reads, I'm just happy to be here.
Well, driving along the Ausable River, you'll see a pileup of ice on the banks just like this after last week's flooding that left 36 people displaced.
The Lake Country Village neighborhood here in Plattsburgh has seen 80 water main breaks, 12 of them over the span of 24 hours just 2 weeks ago, and it left 10% of the city of Plattsburgh using emergency water.
This tan home with the red roof is where the shooting occurred. You can see police still here. They just had drones in the air and investigators still combing the scene here.
You asked the governor today if she's decided who her new running mate will be. What did she tell you?
Well, Cap, the governor says it's a process that she's still working on, though she has asked lawmakers to pass a bill that would allow her to replace Benjamin's name on the ballot.
One of the biggest issues our rural schools are facing during COVID-19 is access to Wi-Fi. Well, now 2 districts have teamed up to help their students, and it all involves their big yellow school buses.
Roxham Road opened back up after being shut down for 20 months because of the pandemic. Thousands of asylum seekers have crossed through.
County has a 75% vaccination rate, which doctors say sounds good, but it's left 25% of the population vulnerable to COVID-19.
This comes down to a lack of housing supply. A 2020 study from the Plattsburgh Housing Authority showed just to fill the gaps of housing needed in the county, there would need to be an additional 950 units. The closed northern border continues to leave businesses at bay for when they can prepare for customers. Neil Fassett owns Plattsburgh RV Park. He says 65% of his seasonal business are Canadians.
Huge impact on our businesses, but when these folks come in, they don't stay in our campgrounds. The economic impact to our community is huge.
Cross-border property owners are unable to access their property, like parked RVs and boats at area marinas. Loved ones also continue to be separated.
The Canadian-American families, they need to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
The last 15 months have been anything but a light for Morrisonville's Tracy Simmons and her family. Not when her 83-year-old mom had COVID, not when her mom had to deal with an extended stay at the hospital from complications, and not when her mother's lung cancer took a turn for the worst.
My mother was a very giving woman, so I wanted to give back to her, and I was not able to do this. I wanted to be there to help my mother in her last days of life, and I lost that opportunity.
She was able to make the funeral, but her story bears resemblance to many U.S.-Canadian families. Chamber of Commerce President Gary Douglas says there's only one way to get the border back open.
Oh, what can we do? Get vaccinated. Get your family vaccinated.
To put things into perspective, Quebec has a population of 8.5 million people. 4.6 million have received at least the first dose, but when it comes to being fully vaccinated, the number drops to 260,000. Assemblyman Billy Jones is calling on the state to start vaccinating Canadian essential workers who cross the border into New York for work.
CDC has already said that this is allowable.
Jones says local health organizations are on board, but can't move forward without the state's approval.
The conversations are happening informally, but those conversations have shown this is very doable.
This sound is becoming all too familiar for Lake Country Village residents.
This is probably one of our worst years.
Randy Lamora has lived in this neighborhood the last 8.5 years, and he's had to boil water because of water main breaks too many times to count.
You don't realize how much you really need water till you're missing it.
He also is on the HOA board for the neighborhood and says the ongoing water infrastructure problem makes up about 95% of complaint emails from residents.
We don't know the bacteria that's coming out of these lines. These lines have been here since the 50s.
Since 2005, we've had 80 water main breaks in this neighborhood.
Mayor Chris Rosenquist says the problem comes from aging water lines.
Based on this old asbestos cement pipe that over time has broken down to a point where it becomes very fragile.
And years of small fixes rather than major ones.
We just can't risk it.
Last Thursday, the city council voted in favor of a $10 million bond to replace 20,000 feet of pipe and is working with the Clinton County Health Department to declare a state of emergency that should help in getting state and federal funding.
We're doing a lot of the work right now. We have funding in place, but we need some help with some of this funding as well.
If those state and federal partners don't answer the calls to fund the fix, it will fall on the taxpayers.
On an emergency, yes, we need that money right now, but how do we figure out a different way to pay for it so that that cost is not then being passed on to our residents.
Crews are already working on Kansas Avenue.
Normally, this would be a 6-year project spread out over time, but we really are looking at replacing a significant majority of this in the next 6 months.
And those who live in the neighborhood say the fix can't come fast enough.
And, I'm just hoping there's not a lot of red tape because this has to be fixed.
So I got it November of 2020. It was very mild.
I first had it last February.
I had long haul symptoms up until about Thanksgiving.
These 3 New York and Vermonters share. They've all had COVID before. They are vaccinated, and currently they're infected again.
This time around was worse. Actually, yes, the fever was a lot worse.
My throat literally felt like burning knives were coating it.
This time it came on so hard and strong. I mean, I was delirious.
New York State health officials say that during the Omicron surge, reinfection cases have risen dramatically. Looking at New York's data, the state health department says a reinfected person is someone who tests positive again 90 days or more after being infected with COVID. In the state, 3.6% of all COVID-19 cases are reinfections. Of those nearly 170,000 cases, 82% have been reported since December 13th.
I was surprised when I got it again. And now I'm kind of like racking my brain going, okay, what do you do to prevent getting it for a third time?
Looking at the North Country, the state reports just over 1,100 cases have been reinfections since mid-December.
I thought that of all people that I would be like the least likely out of my coworkers to get it because of the fact I've already had it. And I guess that was maybe just ignorance on my part, not really understanding perhaps how the virus really works.
The state's health department says comparing infections to reinfections show the chances of getting reinfected is low, but those living through COVID again want you to know this.
Be informed and pay attention.
You really need to keep your defensive up.
Both times of me having it, it's reminded me of the value of just being sure that I recognize what's going on in my own body.
Russell Gadway and Bill Stickney have been friends for decades.
Since '87.
Russell and I used to work together at Harris Graphics in Champlain.
The job they met at over 30 years ago once had a blood drive. And it's a tradition they've continued.
You doing all right?
No, I just thought it was a good thing to do.
Russell's gonna ding.
They've come to the Adirondack Blood Donor Center on the first Friday of every month, ever since it opened in 2001.
I think I've made it once a month for every month for the 17 years.
They sit in these chairs for 50 minutes at a time to donate blood platelets.
It divides the entire blood into the components of the platelet, the plasma, and the red cell. There's a centrifuge in the machine that does all the work for us.
These platelets only last 5 days after being donated.
This is the actual platelet.
And they're used right here.
This is the actual platelet that's going in
our region.
And we need the blood, the platelets, plasma every single day.
Cancer patients use the platelets weekly, and they can be lifesavers in emergencies like car accidents. One bag can save up to 3 lives.
You know you're helping people, but someday I might need my blood, who knows?
On Friday, the center filled with red and white balloons as the 2 blood buddies.
I've been doing this for the last 20 years, and it's good,
Celebrate a rare milestone, their 200th donation.
We gotta get you a plaque.
Most left, second one down, Russell Gadway.
Both their names are moving across the wall from the 100s to the 200s club.
There's only 2 so far that made 200. So we'll be 3rd and 4th.
They say it's relaxing, sitting in the chairs, and the time flies by as the old friends chat, but they say it's giving back to their community that keeps them coming in.
That means a lot to me, to be able to help.
I probably won't make it 300, but I'll try it.
Got it?
In Plattsburgh, Kelly O'Brien.
Good deal.
Channel 3 News. Over the last 3 weeks, these boxes have been filled up with fresh food and meals from North Country Farms to serve the people who need it in Clinton, Essex, and Franklin counties.
COVID-19 has created a situation where we've gone from bad to much, much worse in terms of food access and food security.
The emergency food packages is offered through Hub on the Hill and local nonprofit ADK Action to help people without easy access to grocery stores and those facing financial hardships.
You add the pandemic crisis on top of that, and suddenly you have people that have new economic barriers to access.
The program runs on grants from the Adirondack Foundation's Sudden and Urgent Need Fund and donations from the community. Their initial goal was to raise $55,000 for the program to deliver 1,000 meals to 100 people over 10 weeks. They've met that goal and surpassed it, setting a new goal of $130,000.
We're at about 100,000 now, and if we are able to meet our goal, we'll be able to ramp up to 235 families a week.
After the food is packed up and the truck is loaded, it's brought to pickup locations or delivered right to the recipient's doorstep. That's what happened here with this Waylandsburg delivery. The person receiving the food wants to remain nameless, but shares her gratitude for the program that helps feed her family.
I greatly appreciate anything that I get from somebody. It just helps us with being able to pay our bills instead of having to pay for groceries. It's really nice.
Oh, glad I saw that. That's a picture of the platoon.
Michael Francis Conley was one of 23 Clinton County men that served.
Michael's right in the middle there. They were called the North Country Platoon.
Together, they enlisted in the Marine Corps right after high school during the Vietnam War.
Sooner or later, they were going to be called in. So they all decided they would enlist as a group and hopefully go wherever they went as a group. Okay, this is a picture of my brother.
From Lance Corporal to Corporal, Michael Conley was 19 when he shipped off to war. While overseas, his mother and family wrote to him daily. Michael would send recordings of his voice for his parents to hold tight.
Michael would talk to them on the tape recorder.
Michael served less than 6 months.
He was shot by a sniper, and he was wounded, and he was supposed to have been in good shape. We all thought he was going to make it, but he didn't.
He died from those wounds 9 days later.
Michael died on Memorial Day, in fact. So that Memorial Day is very, very, very dear to our family.
30 days after that, another Plattsburgh soldier, Tommy Gadot, was killed, bonding an already hurting community.
It was a tough year for the Plattsburgh area, that's for sure.
That was in 1967.
Part of our lives now.
Not a day goes by that Michael's brother Jim doesn't think of him.
I'm very proud of Michael. Even now, when I think deeply about it, it brings tears to my eyes.
His mother has since passed, but she would honor her son each Memorial Day with other Gold Star families in the area riding around in the local parade.
During Vietnam, we were hoping so much that there would never be another Gold Star mother. But unfortunately, they continued. Now follow to your left.
Corporal Conley lays eternally in Mount Carmel Cemetery in Plattsburgh alongside his family.
I have great sorrow, and, I'm proud of both of them, though. I'm proud of my mom and my brother and my dad.
A place where Jim and his sister June go to clean the gravesite for their fallen brother. It's not a place they visit often.
What do you think when you come here?
What a shame.
This Memorial Day, the Conleys honor Michael being gone 54 years to the day.
19 years of age.
A day that draws so many emotions.
It touches the heart, that's for sure.
Honoring their brother taken far too soon and acknowledging the hurt that will last a lifetime.
Not just for me, but all the mothers, fathers, children, they will always feel it deeply.